Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast, make sure you like this. Hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so glad to be sharing this platform with you. Hello, and thank you. For those of you that are already jumping on, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you. This platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Kimberly McDaniel. Kimberly is here today to talk about the importance of forgiving the people of their past and our obligation as parents to do it better than our parents did. Kimberly believes that our life should be a limitless adventure. And with that idea, she will talk about how homeschooling your children can give them a completely different outlook on life. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am just jazzed up by your intro. I'm like, let's do this. Oh my
Thank
God.
you. Thank you. Well, listen, what you're doing, what you have to teach today is amazing. I absolutely love it. I did not have the opportunity to be able to homeschool my son. He's now 17, but I
Mhm.
often thought about it. My sister has been homeschooling her children um, their entire lives. I think her daughter's 12 and her son is maybe 9.
Okay,
So it's going to be really interesting to kind of
absolutely.
hear your thought process on this, the journey that you've been through in order to get to this process and kind of go from there. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
always appreciate a different outlook on life. So how are you? How are things?
I'm doing great. I am looking into this new season. I am a survivor of daylight savings time. I'm pressing my way when things are forced upon us. We just keep moving and
Oh,
making it happen. So I'm super excited to be here. And I will tell you that my company is called Vibrant Life Coaching, and I am a huge advocate of living life. And my acronym for life is living in freedom every day. Living in freedom every
yes.
day. So, yeah, this is a new day and a new chance to be free and stretch wings and, claim it all.
Yes, I love that. How do you instill that same thing in your children?
By example, number one, and the other thing is, that does not mean that life is marshmallows and strawberries and unicorns. It means that, hey, when things come, you learn to, just roll and get back up, roll and get back up. And that model of them and coming together.
Mhm.
Um, I think that a lot of what we do is we are put in isolation. And when we're in isolation, we feel abandoned, we feel overwhelmed, we feel like it's only us by ourselves trying to fight out. So for my children, when we put the model of family together and knowing that in our household there will be what we call, agape love, like unconditional love. We
Yes.
come back. You got this. We can do this. Let's get back up. Let's reconstitute ourselves and move forward. So modeling and keeping our arms wide open for embracing. That's how we do it here.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. I mean, I haven't heard agape love in a while. That's a good one. Can
Yeah.
you explain what that means for people that have never heard of it before?
Well, so I'm a Christian, and in the Christian background, we look at love, and just being, I love languages as well, but just being in the English language, we look at, oh, I love you, I love collard greens, and I love Denzel. It's like, no, no, no. There's different types of love, but we don't have that. We have, oh, I like it a lot. So in Hebrew, and I'm sorry, in the Greek language, you're looking at agape, which means more, unconditional. My love is not based on what you do. It's based on who I am and what I'm putting out there. then versus, brotherly love versus erotic love. So there are different words to to define the relationship that you have with a person or a thing. So agape is how God loves us.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do to make God love us more, and there's nothing we can do to make God love us less. He
Yes.
loves us because he is love. And that's what I focus on modeling for, those in my space or those who God puts in right in front of me.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Very cool. Thank you for bringing that back. I haven't heard that
Oh,
one in a while. I appreciate
absolutely.
that. That's one of the things that I love about doing this podcast is
Yeah.
you meet I meet so many awesome people, so many incredible stories and
Hmm.
just reminders. I'm just constantly getting reminded of, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that was already, we're freaking 5 seconds into our podcast, and I'm
I
already
love it.
saying yes. So that's a good sign. Listen, Kimberly, I kind of want to just jump right in. I would love to kind of give you the floor for a few minutes for you to kind of give us an overview of your journey, a little bit of your backstory and
Sure.
how you got to where you are now, and then kind of
Sure.
flow from there. Is that cool?
That's very cool. And I'm excited to say that I am a military veteran. I went through high school, college, ROTC, and joined the Army. And I was shipped abroad. I served in Europe and I served in Central America. And I will say, Sabrina, that lifestyle gave me a real awakening to just being obedient, being disciplined, listening to outside, commands. This is what you will do. This is where you will be at this time. It's not a democracy. We're not going to debate it. Everyone do it, and everyone be dressed the same, do the same, walk the same. It's the whole deal was just conformity.
Yeah.
And so, which had its place, I love the service. I have, very proud to be a veteran. But when I got out of the military, the question became, wow, well, who's going to tell me what to do? Like, what do I do now? It's like it's a free fall.
Yeah.
So you're out in this bigger world, and it becomes, well, how am I going to direct my path? How am I going to prioritize? What am I going to anchor myself on to? And what narrative will I co-sign on?
Oh,
When I look at living a life in freedom, that's the thing. We have choices. Like
yeah.
I'm still an American and I get to choose anything I want to choose. And if I fall, I can get back up and refocus myself and move in another direction. I'm not stuck in a cast where I can only do this. I'm looking at the past. I'm standing on the shoulders of others, and I always have a chance to get back up again. That's just a gift. And I look at people. I have the privilege of mentoring, coaching young ladies, and sometimes I learn so much just from listening, Sabrina, just
Yeah.
listening to them. And you would think their life is over because they've made bad choices and they're 22 years old. My life is over. Like, are
Yes.
you kidding me? There are
Yes.
people twice your age who haven't figured it out yet and they're still pushing through. So
Mhm.
to be a cheerleader for the next generation, to have people who will pour into someone who's 22, 23, 24. And I find this out. I'm married. I've been married for 33 years. And my husband was in a more conventional, he was worked for the government for a while, a long time. And
Mhm.
when he dealt with Generation X or Generation Y, he went into the conversation of the mindset that, hey, they want to do it this way, and they're like, you're old school, I don't want to do that. And he discovered that, what, they actually also do want parameters. They want investment. They want someone to invest in them. They
Yeah.
want mentors. They want to feel safe,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if you can design that community for yourself, you are light years ahead. So I see people trying to push themselves into a mold so that they can be accepted, embraced. And my calling is, hey, you make your own mold. And the people will come because there are people like you
Yes.
who are perpetrating and doing what they think is right, and they're broken on the inside. And
That's
everyone's
great.
kind of, going through this at the same pace. And it's very exciting to have that revelation. So that's my military and then my civilian lifestyle. And now as a coach, I can see there's freedom in choice. There's freedom in knowing that that you have a choice. I had a friend who was a pastor, and he would say to me, "Thank you, Linda. I received it."
Linda's great.
I had a pastor who'd say, "Oh, how you doing, Kim?" And I'd say, "Oh man, I'm better than blessed." He's like, "There is no such thing. You're either blessed." He's like, "You're blessed or you're not blessed. There's no such thing as better than blessed." And I chewed on that for a while, Sabrina, and I said, "You know what? To me, that means that not only am I blessed, but I know that I'm blessed."
Yes, there is a difference.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level. And yeah, that's
Girl, I'm writing that down.
I get that, I feel that, and I seek it out and I seek to share it. That whole, you know, we'll get into homeschooling at some point, but that little song, I'm a little teacup, and
Short and stuff.
tip me over and pour me out. Like God, if as God put so much in you, it's an abundance. Just tip over. You can give so much more life, speaking life into others because you have much. You have
Yeah.
so much more, and if you give it away, it's still not going to be a deficit because more will be poured into you. It's
Yes.
unending. So that's the journey that I'm on now, and it's phenomenal. It's
I
absolutely.
love that. I love that. One of the things that I appreciate about hearing these stories is where my guests are now. And
Hmm.
it's such a beautiful spot to be able to see. And I'm always very conscientious or empathetic towards females who are watching now, who are maybe not at that spot,
Hmm.
who are maybe struggling a little bit. And I'd love for you to kind of, be open with us about a failure, maybe a failure or a struggle that you had up, during your journey from then till now. And going through that struggle, what did you learn from it? Because I think it's so important when you're in it to kind of look around to see what you're learning from it versus focusing on just the problem. So now looking back in retrospect, what was maybe a struggle that you dealt with, and then what did you learn from it?
I would say for me, it would have been being a minority, a female in the military, and just being surrounded by men and their ideas and their conceptions of how it would go. I went to a military school, and I was in the first class of females that was accepted. So at that point, I was like maybe 5 girls in a class of 20. So I kind of had that being a female minority, and it was just interesting to watch their perceptions. And so what I learned, I remember one time we had we call it a professional leadership development course, and we had to climb. There was like two trees. There's a pole between the two trees, and it was maybe 20 feet apart. We had to climb like a sloth. We had to climb, feet and hands from one
Oh
point to the
my God.
other.
Okay.
And as I'm climbing, I'm moving my way along, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to make this." Am I not? And I'm like, 30 feet off the ground,
Oh my
and my
God.
team is underneath of me, like, "You got it, you got it." I'm like, "You got it." It wasn't looking good for the whole team. And so here's my lesson: when my arms gave out, my guys, my team, my compadres at the bottom, they were like, "Let go, just let go." And I let go, and they caught me. And I knew that I would not be judged as oh, she's just a girl and she can't hang. And we know we shouldn't have had women in the military, none of that, because I had proven myself on many fronts. And they knew that, hey, she'll carry her weight and she'll help, and she's a team. And guess what? As a team, we have to help each other. So
Yes.
she may have had weak arms there, but we have weak this or weak that here and there, and she would help us there. So
Wow.
in building the relationship and building trust, that helped me go through that. And then my entire career as a captain, I got out as a captain. But I do remember, also one of the big things, Sabrina, I say is keep a sense of humor. Just
Yeah.
if you can have that, that's like an emergency escape pack. If you can just laugh through things and say, you know what, there are lessons. I might not be able to see them now. I'll
Yeah.
see them on the other side and just trust the process. I remember, when I first started running, we would run around the track because we had tests, PT tests, physical training tests. And I remember one time running and a group of guys ran past me, and we're just lapping, and I'm running and I'm like, "Hey, wait up." And they're in front of me and they're and they're running and they look over their shoulder. They're like, "Oh, we'll be back." Meaning they're going to lap me
Yeah.
around. I'm like, whatever, you know. But it was laughter and it wasn't judgment. Because
Yeah.
when laughter turns to criticism,
Yeah.
that is when it becomes painful. That was when it becomes non-edifying and deprecating. And that's what you can't let in. You have to learn to shake things off. You have to learn to, you know, decide what you're going to allow into your space. And I will say it this way: the picture, God gives me a lot of pictures, and He gives me the picture of when you have a home and you have an enemy coming in, and the enemy could be fear, anger, mistrust, regret, all of those. It's your choice to open the door and let the enemy come into your living room. Some people, it's like that down in the South, they have those shotgun houses, right? So if you're going to let the enemy in, let them come in the front door and go right out the back, just straight on through.
Yes.
But some people let the enemy come in. They're like, "You want some lemonade? Some iced
Yes.
tea? You want to sleep? Which bedroom do you want?"
Yeah. You're right.
When you become one of my big triumphs is emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. And when you get to know who you are and you know your hot buttons and you know what sets you off and you know how to rebuff things, when the enemy starts coming, you can see him coming around the corner. He's not even going to get on your porch. You'll
Yeah.
see him around the corner. You'll turn your night light off. It's like nobody's home. Keep on moving.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, that's learning from the inside is great, and then adding to those lessons when you get past that moment. So for me, it became building community, building camaraderie, showing up, being a team player. Those are things that I was able to take with me onto any front, beyond the tree climbing modality, if you will.
Yes, those are so great. And one of the things that I appreciated you saying was that sometimes we can't see the lesson, and that's
Hmm.
okay. When you're in it sometimes and you're just feeling all sorts of negativity, sometimes it's hard to pivot. No matter how much Coach Kim says there's a lesson, it's like, screw that lesson. I see no lesson in this. But that's okay, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I would love for, since we're kind of diving into self-development here and personal growth, just kind of naturally,
Sure.
I'd like to get your take on that. What's your thoughts on personal development or personal growth, and how have you kind of been evolving as you've gotten older?
Well, I will say that one of the big things that people miss is self introspection. Like we're so busy and engaged in the stuff and the distractions and the shiny things that it's almost as if we're doing that so that we can stay numb to the realities of who we are. I
Oh,
listened to a sermon recently, and my pastor was talking about feelings. And so, feelings of, let's just say, fear, grief, shame, regret, to box them up and put them in the attic and never address them can actually be dysfunctional. It can be healthy to get those feelings, inspect them, deal with them, and move through them, because God gave us God just didn't give us the happy gene. It's like, nope, I'm giving you the whole spectrum so that you can process and relate and be compassionate for other people.
Yeah.
So now, like when I lost, people close to me, my stepfather, my sister-in-law, when I lost them, one of the things that I realized that, so when people lose someone and my condolences, and I say that, but I remember when it happened to me and I went to a place like a Panera Bread or something, post funeral service, and I'm looking around at everyone, Sabrina, and my thought was, wow, like they're just going on with life as if this didn't happen, as if
Yeah.
this what? It was like and then it made me think, well, God, I guess I was doing the same thing. So that whole grief helped me to be more sensitive when other people are going through, and to be what they need me to be. That's one big thing about grief. I've learned that there is no, 7 days, you're good.
Yeah.
3 months, you're good. 10 years, why are you still grief? No, all of that is inappropriate
Yeah.
because people go through it at their own pace, depending on their relationship, and it's their right to do that. So,
Absolutely.
so that's just one part of self-development. But the big thing is showing up. It's like 90% of it, showing up and trusting that, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to show up. And when I show up, I'm going to receive the tools, the resources. I'm going to show up with my best face, my best attitude, with the best expectation, high vibration. Because when you show up like that versus showing up like, I'm here, what time? It's like, what do you expect to happen? So showing up, and that actually, I'm a big fan of vibrations as well. I get that. So if I'm showing up at this level and you're showing up at this level, man, we're like gonna be zooming.
Yeah.
And I give the picture of vibrations to people. It's like, have you ever walked into a room after two people have been arguing and you walk in and they stop? And
Yes.
like, let's say 2 seconds before you walk in, they stop. Can you feel the, like, whoa, what was going on in here? That's vibration.
Yes. I have done that. I'm sure other
Yeah.
people have done that with me too.
Yes. And,
Yes.
and and that's a proof that vibration is real. We can see it. And
100%.
the other thing is, if you're vibrating at a level, I'm sure also you've been around people. Like I have this one little exercise I do, and it says, name the, let's say, 5 to 10 people that you hang out with the most.
Okay.
And in a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel after you leave them?
Yes.
One being, oh
Okay.
my gosh, and 10 being, oh man, I'm so sorry they left. What a great time we had. And so if you're looking at, and those are vibrations. It's, of
Yeah.
course, it's speech and actions, but it's vibration. How does is my soul lighter or heavier? Do I feel better about myself or do I feel worse about myself?
Wow.
And that whole scale of 1 to 10, if you're hanging, if the 5 people you hang out with, and you're putting two, 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 and you're wondering, why am I so depressed all the time? It's like, change your zip code, change
Yeah.
your friend zone.
Yeah.
We're at an 8, 9, 10. Man, you're like a walking blessing to other people. So you
Yeah.
can shift that by your pals, if you will.
Absolutely. Yes. And I can't even tell you how many friends I've had to kind of slowly do
Yes.
one of these with,
Yeah.
covertly. Because, yeah, exactly what you're saying. For me, more so, it was just energy suckers, people that are, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about
Yes.
this? And then I'm giving, 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 giving. And then they take none of my advice. And then
Yeah.
they come back with
Yeah.
another problem because they did the exact opposite of what I told them to do. So
Yeah.
then I have to and it's just a constant, I'm feeling so tired and so drained
Yes.
and looking and say, what are you doing for me?
Yes.
Like it's a give and take here, girl.
Yep.
It's a give and take here.
Absolutely.
And if, yeah, exactly what you're saying. If you're feeling not so good at the end of the day, the end of the hangout, the end of the week, you have to look at
Mhm.
your community.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I look at the game of tennis, and I always put, Venus and Serena on either side. And when you're playing with a person, you're expecting to see like an equal amount of balls on either side. But if you're with an energy sucker, you'll look over and you'll see like 100 balls over there and one ball on your side. And you're like, why am I giving up stuff?
That's good. That's a good analogy. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So were you always this positive and optimistic, or has this been an evolution for you?
I will say I've always been optimistic, but I will say in my kind of like is it Indiana Jones and he's going to find the thing, my thing is understanding who I am in Christ. And
Yeah.
I know here it's twofold. I know he has created me to be an amazing person.
Okay.
The other fold is I know that he has created us all to be amazing people.
Yes.
Right. So because I know that, it's like I've got the keys. And I'm like, there's a passage that said, I'm called here to set the captives free. I feel like I've got the keys and I'm running, unlocking all the cell
Yes.
doors. So
Yes.
it's amazing. So, in that, Sabrina, I have to say, I'm so grateful that I'm on the outside to let you out, because it's only it could be the other way around
Yeah.
completely. I could be on the inside banging my cup on the rail saying water, but I'm like, hey, come on out, come on out. And oh my gosh, Sabrina, when I go to some gates, it's like I tried to put the key in and it was already unlocked. It wasn't even locked.
Yep.
And it's like, the mind, you are keeping yourself in prison
Yep.
by your past, by your self-doubt, you're like a mini person, and you are just not even giving yourself any authority or any way out.
Yep.
Reach up and grab the rope. The rope is in front, grab it.
Yeah.
The life raft, just a little, just move a little bit and we can pull you in,
Yep.
and give you a second chance or a 70th chance or a 700th chance,
Yep.
chances are limitless.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. That kind of reminded me of a story that they used to tell on the podium about a person who like a tsunami or something came in, or a flood came in, and they were on the roof of their house, and they
Hmm.
were like, God is going to save me, praying to God. And
Yeah.
a boat comes along and says, come on, come on. And they're like, no, God is going to save me. And then
Yes.
a helicopter comes along and they're like, no, 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 God is going to. And there's like several different, things that come around to
Hmm.
kind of help
Hmm.
save them. And they just keep saying no, because they're not realizing that it doesn't always come in the form of which you think it's going to come.
Yes.
The things that are
Yes.
set before us are there to help, are there to teach. So
Hmm.
yeah, I totally am picking up what you're putting down, for sure.
That's fantastic.
I want to ask you, one of the biggest issues, and I don't know about your clients, but one of the biggest issues that I deal with clients is them understanding. They're like, I get it. Okay, got it. I get it. However, it's not that easy. Like, what do I do? What's the first step? Like, I have
Hmm.
no idea how to get from where I am to where Coach Kim is mentally and
Hmm.
emotionally. What are the steps? I don't understand.
Yeah. And
Could you break it down, maybe, a couple of steps as far as what you did to kind of get to where you are now mentally and emotionally throughout your journey?
absolutely. So here's the thing, when I deal with that, because I definitely do, when I deal with that, I also tell people before I even invite them into the relationship, this is where you are, this is where you say you want to be. Are you willing to pay the price? Right? So the price, it could be money, it could be time, it could be energy, it could be shift. So if you're not willing to pay the price, then you won't get to the result. You have to
Absolutely.
realize that, and you have to accept that, hey, I paid a price to get here. And here's the thing, if I keep doing what I've done, I'm going to be stuck.
Yeah.
And I need an outside force, like everything that I had to get to this point. I used everything I had, my knowledge, my information, my connections, and I don't like being here. I want to go past here. And it's like, guess what? There's nothing in your past that can take you past that, because that can only get you here. So it's wisdom to reach out to an outside source, an outside, well, it could be a book, it could be me, it could be another coach, it could be a counselor, it could be a wise person who has your best interests at heart. Let me say that again, who has your best interests at heart,
Yeah.
that, so that you can say, okay, how do I take the next step? And sometimes we make it so difficult, Sabrina. One thing is I'll say is, okay, make a plan, break it down. Let's just say in the 3 steps, break it down and do it. Like Monday, I'm going to start decluttering my house. You do it.
Yeah.
This is like, I mean, Nike, man, they're like, that was like a light bulb,
Yeah.
because
Genius.
it's the little things. And here's the thing I think about psychologically. I think that if you say, I'm going to wake up on Monday and I'm going to clean my house, and you don't, I think that on a psychological level, you're telling yourself, oh, I'm a liar. I can't be trusted, and I'm not a woman of my word. I'm not a person of
Yeah.
my word. So if that didn't work, then maybe not my house, maybe my pantry, maybe the first shelf. Break it down into small bites that you
Absolutely.
can do. Because what I found is that you'll clean that, let's just say one shelf, and you can say, wow, that didn't take as long as I thought. Maybe I can do it too.
Yes.
Doing the little things, and that success breeds success. You feel good about it and you continue, and then you add another thing and another thing, and you create a momentum, because we know an object that's stationary will remain stationary until something comes along and pushes it in motion. You cleaning that pantry shelf, that's the motion. That's the beginning of the momentum, and that gives you, oh my gosh, that gives you your mind a different platform to start saying, what else? What else can I do? Ooh, what else can I do? So
Yes.
now you're seeking solutions versus being buried in the weight of problems. So you need to look up and out, because solutions are there. Your brain is so amazing. Your brain is like, supercomputer times a million. It's like,
Yeah.
give me a problem. Just give me something. I want to swing. I can hit a home run. Just give it to me. Versus saying, well, how? Let's say, oh man, I can't get across town. There's no way I can get across town. You say that to yourself versus, wow, how can I get across town? Your brain will be like, oh, there's a subway, there's a metro, there's Uber, there's your auntie, you can walk. And your brain will just start giving you things in any scenario, because your brain is a solutions finder and
Yes.
creator. It's almost like how some people are like, they're like Sherlock Holmes. It's like they're always like, oh, that's how our brains are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I love that you're saying that, because you know what? This is actually hitting really close to home for me, because one of the things that I brag about is my ability to be able to problem solve.
Mm,
I'm like, give
yes.
me anything. I actually had the slogan for a while, like, give me 5 minutes, give me a problem, give me 5 minutes, I'll solve your problem for you. Like
Yes.
and that is something that like is mine. Like I can freaking solve
Yes.
problems. And I love that you are telling us that every person has this ability.
Hmm.
Every person has this ability to be able to solve problems, because that is how our brain works. I love that.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. And I'm sure you've seen the stereotype, right? The stereotype is that men are problem solvers and that women are, let's say it this way. They'll say if a woman comes home to her husband and she's like, and this happened at work and that happened, and the husband's like, well, honey, maybe you should, move your desk, or maybe you should talk to the boss. And people are like, no, she just wants you to listen. She just wants to vent. Like in that picture, I'm the husband. I'm like, look, okay, you identified this. Let's fix it. Because all this talking about it is not, because
Exactly.
you'll come home tomorrow talking about it, talking. That doesn't
Yep.
do anything. It's
Yep.
moving the elevation, promote yourself to a level of, okay, now I move past that, and let me, because really also you're going from peak to peak. You made it to the top of the mountain. You're like, oh, I made it. You're like, dang, is that another mountain? They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So get these skills in place so that you can,
Yeah.
figure out how to do, oh, another mountain. Let me solve this way. Let me do it that way. And it just gives you this whole toolbox instead of just having one hammer. You've got an entire toolbox of different things that you can use to bring solutions forth.
Absolutely. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
And
and if we can teach our children, so even with homeschooling, we have people homeschool for so many different reasons. One of my colleagues has had a child, and I've seen this before, but it's an anger management issue, and so
oh,
sometimes people are not wanting their kids to be in school for a certain reason, and other times they want homeschooling for what it can offer. We have found that in an anger management situation, if your child is in school, he or she may strike out in a way that's negative and then get the labeling and the teacher. It's just a whole bad thing, right? And so homeschooling, it's like, oh, we can take more time, we can help them talk through things, and they can, have better outcomes. The issue is that the child only has a hammer. Like when you're angry, you just have a hammer and you're like so mad. That's what you're going to get every time. That's your go-to. But
yeah.
when you can work with that child slash adult, a human adult as well,
Yeah.
and you can show, oh,
Um,
you can breathe, you can talk, you can meditate, you can think before you answer. It's like, wow, I didn't know I could do 10 things. I just thought I had a hammer. you know? So solutions are amazing. Yes.
that's great. And yes, I think hammer is a great analogy for that because that is what it feels like sometimes. There's,
Mm-hmm.
there's a hammering all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't even make any sense sometimes. What's
Yeah.
the number one lesson you've learned about life?
The number one lesson I would say is it can be what you interpret it to be. It can be what you make it. I've seen tragedy befall two different people and them having two different responses. I've seen the same joy, the same great thing happen to two different people, and they have two different responses. I think you can engulf things and then you can rebirth them. So how you take it in, it depends on what's in here. So if you're bringing something to your space and you're just angry and full of pain and hurt and you put it back out, that's the moss all over it. But if you take something in and you love on it, break it down and figure things out and process it through, then that's going to reappear at a certain
Mm.
level. So the takeaway is, what is this? Like, this is all we have control over. This is it. This real estate right here, this is all we can control. And we aren't, all of us, doing a good job at that. And certainly not all 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
We all have our moments. So when we get control of this and then we show up, with that brand, it's always been a brand, even though that's the thing we call, oh, we've always had brands.
Mhm.
Back in the day, they would say, oh, you're running down the street and you're like, oh, you're one of those Jackson kids. I know, that was a brand. You had the Jackson brand or the Johnson brand or the Smith brand because people knew your family standard and
Wow.
they knew, oh, that's the expectation. Or why are you dressed like that? Why are your pants hanging down? Or why are your shoes on backwards? Your grandmother wouldn't accept. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right. So, what is your brand? What do you want people to know you for in the 70, my goodness, 70, 80, 90 years? It's going to come and it's going to go. And
Yeah.
so when you're gone, oh man, I remember when, that's to me a goal of continuing to let your light shine even when you're not here.
Yeah.
That you went around and flicked lights on. It's everywhere you go, you're flicking on a light. And when you go, when your final checkout, the lights are still flickering, and they're also passing it on. So there's still some of you in that because you're still, I'm doing this because Sabrina was so kind to me. Because she was kind to me, I'm going to be kind to another person. And then that
Yeah.
person, because they were, and you're setting off this whole domino effect that you don't even know about. But
Yeah.
it's a pleasure to do that because guess what? It could be negative. You've seen the picture where, oh, the man is mad at work. He kicks his dog. He fusses his wife. He leaves his child. He leaves and beeps and, angry and traffic. And he gets to work and he fusses at his employee. And it's like, that's the negative side.
Yeah.
Choose. We can choose. Free choice is like this amazing gift that
Yeah.
we can use and implement on a regular basis, hundreds of
Yeah.
times a day, actually.
Yeah. Definitely. When you're doing homeschooling with your children, is there a certain portion a week where you're teaching them personal growth
Um,
or the concept of it?
I did different things. Like I remember one curriculum that we used, and it was like, what kind of animal are you? And it was like, are you a helping animal? It was a whole curriculum on that because I definitely wanted to move them from just the reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah.
So sometimes personal growth looks like not just serving other people, but how do I feel about serving other people? Like, am I doing it because it's a rote thing? I'm doing it because I'm obligated. Am I doing it because I want to be compassionate? And so, even to go through those modes, it's good to do that so you can even examine yourself in that, right?
Absolutely.
And I often see in helping people, I can see, man, like the smile on their, not just on their face, but in their heart because when it comes down to it, everybody just wants to be noticed.
Mhm.
Not like in bright lights, but they just don't want you to walk past them as if they weren't there.
Yeah.
Like, can you take a moment? Like, hello, So when a child does that, and here's a birthday card I made for you, or here's something, or that just it's a warm sensation. It's a blessing. It's like humanity speaking to humanity, and to
Mhm.
be able to tie into that, to be part of that process, it's heartwarming for the child, and I
Yeah.
think it's something that they will remember and pattern, in years to come. Because I look at things. I'm out, I see older people with shopping carts and stuff, and I'm like, I would want someone to help my mom. I would have wanted someone to help my grandmom. Like I want to
Yeah.
give goodwill so that it can even help in other areas, just putting that vibration out. So yeah, they get that. And I'm gonna say this, and we'll see how it plays out. My son right now is researching being what do you call it? A kidney donor, an altruistic kidney donor, which means
I don't know what that is.
he wants to give a kidney
Okay.
to someone who he doesn't know. He wants to get on the kidney donor list
Oh my.
because there are 100,000 people who need kidneys and they're on dialysis on a regular basis. And
Wow.
it's like, well, I've got two healthy kidneys. Like, why wouldn't I give one of mine? And I'm like, gee. And I told him, I was like, why did I teach you to be so compassionate? But he's going through interviews with doctors and looking at the ups and all the so I mean yeah, I think they have a bit of compassion, and it's definitely something that was in our household, even with other families. And that's, homeschoolers, people have their little groups. I've seen RV groups, I've seen camping groups, homeschooling groups. It's like when you find your clique, a lot of times you share that DNA. So it wasn't that it was just us, but the people we hung out with were
Yeah.
also, what else can we do? How can we serve? How can we connect? Right. Um,
Absolutely.
and you do that because you're selfless. You do that because you have been freely I receive and freely I give. You know that because I'm a veteran, I'm always going to say, you get all these great freedoms in America. You know that these freedoms are here. If you lived in another country, you probably would not have access to them. So because I'm here, because I have freedom, I can pour out and give freely to others. And
Yeah.
that's definitely something that we instilled in them, and hopefully they'll continue and they'll instill in their children as we all move forward.
Yeah. I want to ask, since we're talking about the lessons you've learned, what made you homeschool your children? Did you learn a lesson in your life as far as you not liking the school systems?
Well, I have a very good friend, elementary school friend actually, and she had goo gobs of children. They were homeschoolers. I'm like, what in the world? Like, just put them in school. What are you doing? You know? And I learned as I watched her, and her children were so mannerly and respectful and happy. Like
Wow.
children right now, I just see children just, I mean, I know they have the sports and they have access. But if you sit down and really talk about where you are and being at peace and having hope, like those are the type of real conversations that I love to have with kids, you know. But her kids were peaceful, happy, and she never said, "Hey, you should homeschool too." You know, she never said that. So, you know, that was very appealing. That it's like I'm just observing, and so here's the thing. So I had three children at the time. One was in a private Christian school, and we pulled her out. She graduated fifth grade, and she started homeschooling, and all three of us did it. And it was really interesting because I got a chance to see everyone telling me, you know, why it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Did that, went through that circuitous road,
Yeah.
but I was with all these great thinking people who, oh my gosh, you would not believe the opportunities that we had. I'll give you one example.
Okay.
One time, we lived in Maryland at the time, in Baltimore. One of our homeschooling field trips, every time we went somewhere, like field trip, one of our trips was to go. Okay, first of all, we engaged people from our church. So people from our church gave us a trunk load full of school supplies. We headed out west. We were going to Mount Rushmore. We drove to Mount Rushmore, but we stopped in South Dakota and we stayed on an Indian reservation and we
Cool.
delivered these school supplies to the Indian students there. And we spent the night, and it was just an incredible interaction. And again, my kids, they had toothpicks in their eyes, like their whole experience in homeschooling was what else, what else, what else, more stuff, new ideas. And that's what I wanted for them always, that they would always see life through an open lens, because that to me reflects, if life is this big, maybe I too can be this big.
Wow.
Maybe I too can try this or try, like it's a smorgasbord. You
Yeah.
know, I thought I would like this, but I didn't, and I'm still here. So therefore, let me reshift and make another choice and see how I'll like that.
Yeah.
And I think that helped to build confidence. And I would say that homeschooling is a journey that people would say to me, well, how long are you going to do it? And I was like, I don't know. This year, let's see what happens. Another year, let's see what happens. Let's see what. So we did it for 12 years total with my son. He did it from first grade on. And I will say that as I look back on it, I wouldn't change. I wish I would have been able to push even more opportunities into it. And that's what I learned, Sabrina. The big thing, one of the big things was the takeaway was not the stuff,
Okay.
but the experiences and the
Wow.
exposures and the opportunities and the networking. Sabrina, I don't know how to sew, but my aunt did, and therefore she was the chief seamstress who taught my daughters how to sew. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know how to bake, but I met a chief culinary artist who, you know, I'm pulling people left and right. What can you do? What can you?
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so they got to share in the graduation. It's like, hey, I'm that part of me is in that. Did you make that dress? No, Auntie, I didn't make this dress. But that was the cool part about it, that it was about community. And I
Yeah.
still think community matters. And I don't know that we get that so much. As my kids were coming in the tail end of, oh, we're not just going out in the street to play and hang. Everything was like a play date. Like when I was growing up, we didn't get in the car, drive them across town, or drive to a park. We just went out front, ran around, and
Yeah.
enjoyed it. They were on the tail end of that. They didn't get that, and I think I miss that for children in this era. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I agree. I know even with my son, we've talked about that a few times, just the difference between us growing up and our children growing up. This doesn't necessarily relate to what you're saying at all. But them going outside and just playing
Mhm.
with the kids. that probably lasted until maybe my son was like 11 and 12.
Yeah.
And then like the social media and the computers just kind of took off, at least
Yep.
where we are. And
Yep.
probably from age like 13 on, which is like not normal, I don't feel like, just completely entrenched in gaming because their friends were on the game.
Yep.
So they're still conversing, they still have their friends, but they're all at their own house,
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
online. So, yeah, things are evolving slowly. And I appreciate what you're saying about homeschooling and community, because I think that is so important. We need to get back to that for sure.
Yeah, I know I was at my oldest daughter. She was, the spearhead basically. And of course she always wanted stuff as an older person. She was like, "Oh, I want a Facebook page." And Facebook was just coming into, popularity. And we were like, "Oh no, you're not getting a Facebook page until you're 16 years old." And she didn't. And neither did our other kids. But now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it has to be so different today
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just a different platform. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you just
Totally.
so I'm saying that you're going to have to, for those who are homeschooling, you're going to have to be creative in how you approach, how you move forward, where you put the boundaries. Because now as an adult, oh my gosh, the other thing was PG-13 movies, and well, so and so is watching it. How come I can't see it? And I'm like, no, you're not doing it. And now, as a young adult, she's like, "Mom, what was I in a rush for? I didn't need any of that stuff." And we just laugh about it, So talk about perspective. Now as
Yeah.
an adult, she's like, "Oh man, that's kids don't need to see that. It's too much." I'm like, "You think? Do you
Yeah.
think?"
Yeah. Totally. I do that. I wasn't allowed to watch rated R movies at
Mhm,
all. And I
mhm,
don't think I saw I think I saw one rated R movie all the way up until I was probably like 23 years old.
mhm,
It
mhm.
was Pretty Woman. That was
Yes.
rated R. Can you
Yeah.
believe that?
Yes.
But people ask me sometimes, they're like, "Oh, have you seen this in this movie? Have you seen that in that movie?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, if it was released anytime between when I was 0 and
Yes.
23 or 24 years old, no, I haven't seen it." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, are you serious?" I'm like,
Yes.
"Yeah, like I just wasn't allowed to growing up, for religious reasons." And then
Yeah.
I just carried it on. There was a point in which I realized that watching those sort of movies did nothing for me
Mm,
mentally. Like it just like it was a burden for me, like
yeah.
emotionally, to watch those. So I just
Yeah.
never really did. And it probably wasn't until my 30s when I finally was
Mhm.
like, whatevs.
Yeah.
But, just wasn't really something that I appreciated. Why did we start talking about this? Why am I telling you this story?
Oh my goodness. I don't
Uh,
know, but I relate. I get
that's
exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
that's too funny. Um, one of the things that I love to ask individuals who are our coaches is about belief systems,
Hmm.
because I feel as if in today's society, well, always actually, there are hidden beliefs or limited beliefs that we all have that we don't even know we have.
Hmm.
There's a whole lot of people that don't even know about this. But there are, things that were handed down to us from
Hmm.
society, from our parents, that are keeping us from being able to push forward in our lives. And
Hmm.
like you said, like live bigger and be authentic and be as big as life.
Yep.
I'd like to, cue in on your journey and your story, and whether or not you had, a couple of or one disempowering belief that stands out, and how you've kind of changed it, what you believe now.
I think for me, the first exposure I had to coming outside of the box and thinking, wow, I was wrong. Like there's a Arthur Fonzarelli in Happy Days. He's like, I was like he
Oh,
came.
oh my gosh, yes.
That's so when
That's good.
when I went to Germany, I'm thinking, I'm still in the World War II post era, that era, and like, Germans and And I will tell you, Sabrina, I lived for my first year in I went thinking small
Yeah.
and I'm going to protect myself, all of this. And I know how they are hard and mean and yada, yada. Then I get there and I stayed with a German family in their flat in the upstairs apartment, husband, wife, and two children downstairs. They did not speak English. And by coincidence, I did not speak German. But
Wow.
they had whatever, probably had a relationship with the military, always, put their house out there as an option. They were the nicest people, the nicest people. I remember I had a Cavalier convertible. Love that car. It's my first car, that I was owning on my own. Fantastic car. And it something happened to it where it broke down or something, maybe 2 or 3 miles from their house. So I don't even know how I called them because we didn't even have cell phones. So I got in touch with them somehow. And this Herr Keel comes to my car with his big Mercedes, and he's like, oh, just move out of the way kind of thing. And he just took some rope and tied my little car to his big Mercedes and drove it home, just
Wow.
dragged it home.
Wow.
How I was so appreciative because when you're in a foreign land and you don't know anybody like that, and who do you call in a situation of emergency? And the
Yeah.
fact that he came and it's no judgment. And that's the other thing, Sabrina, I learned, man, a smile and a laugh and a
Yeah.
hug, just good. See, that's how you know vibrations are real, right? Because he didn't say in English, "Oh, I'm pleased to help you. It's no worries." But the vibration of protection and
Got it.
caring, and I got you, and you're not by yourself. That just wore me over. And then, of course, it's like, oh, Germany is great. And it really was. But guess what? It always was. Like it had always been great. I just didn't know it. I took my
Yeah.
glasses. Oh, look at this beautiful country and these cool people. And that was a very good lesson for me to take anywhere. And so I went to Panama after that. That was my next assignment. Same thing. I did speak Spanish, but that was really another superb situation. And my biggest takeaway is that just love people. Just
Yeah.
love people. Like they just happen to be on different continents, but like everybody, that's the thing that really got me into coaching. Like when I was in Germany, when I was in Panama, I traveled to Costa Rica and other places. Like, wow, look at that mom who wants safety and health and education for her children, and a husband who wants safety for his family and food. Like we just all want the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's no mystery. We all want the same stuff: happiness,
Absolutely.
joy, passing on a legacy, a roof over our heads, food in our bellies, fun at the park on Sundays. Like, why can't we just do that?
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Just once I move past people are people. People was a three lines. People always equal three. People always equal people. That's my takeaway from that I will always keep with me, especially now as I see people coming to the U.S. Whether I live in Florida now. Well, when I was in Maryland, there were people who came into Maryland, people now come to Florida. I am always intrigued and amazed and overly hospitable to them.
Yeah.
Oh, you're from Lithuania. Tell me about that. If I ever travel to Lithuania, tell me the one thing that I should, like I want people to feel welcome because I know what it's like to be in a place where no one's taking time. Man, people don't even take time in America to see how you're doing. If you're moving through the streets of Panama, no one's going to talk to you. So I do like to get into people's stories of all the places you could have come to in the US. You came to Baltimore? How
Mm.
did that happen? And they love to tell their story, and I love to hear it. So
Yes.
yeah, knowledge is great. Yeah,
Agree. Agree. I
yeah.
want to quickly give a shout out to those that are watching live. I so appreciate you being here and supporting us. We're almost at an hour, and you guys are hanging out with us, hopefully eating some food or drinking something delicious while you hang out with Kimberly and I. So I so appreciate you being here and supporting us. Kim, since we have an audience here that's obviously aligning with what you're saying, I would love for you to kind of tell us what you do. Tell us your business, your coaching, just so that we
Sure.
can have a better idea of whether or not this is something that we'd be interested in linking up with.
Absolutely. So I am a life coach. My company is called Vibrant Life Coaching. And what I've done is I've moved from that platform to giving people options. I have a Facebook group called When Women Soar, and I gave it that name because I believe that when women soar, everybody wins, right? If the woman who is typically the nurturer and the one that people hear the voice from all the time in the household, the children, even the spouse, we're the ones who are pouring life. So if we're on our game, guess what? Everyone else gets to fly high too. But if we're not, if we're down here, then you get the result. So my goal is to help women to recognize soaring women and to help them to soar and to edify them and to speak life into them and to give them hope and to give them solutions and options. So on my Facebook page, which is a private page, When Women Soar, that's what we do. We talk about it. We give options. I offer coaching sessions on there. My coaching sessions you'll see are on, you can see vibrantlifecoachingpro.com. And I do one-on-one. I have a couple of situations where I've done group training. Kind of have to see how post-COVID goes back in face to face with people. And I write, man, I write. Oh my goodness, I just wrote a book. Just released a book yesterday called God's Solution for Anxiety. And I know pre-COVID, people just have that anxious spirit, which I think is chaining. It puts you in a prison. It locks you down. And I want people to come out of that. And there are solutions to do that. So I'm solutions based. I have a book on my website about homeschooling. I know it's not a journey for everyone. So I suggest you read the book and see, hey, what is the real deal? Because as much as I'm like, oh, it's so great, it's work.
Yeah.
I can't pretend that it's not. It is work and it's an investment. People would say to me, oh, it's such a sacrifice. And I say, oh, I use the word sacrifice and investment very precariously. To me, it's a sacrifice if I'm getting nothing out of it. I invested into my three children. We did, myself and my husband, invested. Homeschooling is an investment because we're getting huge benefits from them having a balanced, holistic life, big life. So there's a book about homeschooling and other things, emotional intelligence. I believe that you really can go only as far as you know yourself to be. So if you are clueless about, you don't know how to read a room, you go into a place and you're loud and proud or whatever, versus listening, hearing people.
Yeah.
You will gain more by hearing people and hearing their needs and then commenting and then interacting than you would just going in with demands.
I
Like I
agree.
said earlier, people just want to be seen. That looks like hearing, and I want to position people to be in the on the offense, to be proactive. And one last thing I'll say, you mentioned forgiveness. Forgiveness is such and I talk about this in my coaching as well. Forgiveness that I love to focus on is forgiveness of yourself. I believe that everyone does and or did the best that they knew how, given the information that they had at the time. And even in making bad choices, that does not mean a lifetime of like those oxen carry those big sticks on their back. It's like you anybody want time for that? Get the stick off, move forward, go higher, vibrate higher, because for unforgiveness of yourself will keep you enchained. And I
Yeah.
just want people to be free. So I talk about freedom, what does that look like? Because it's a concept, but what does that look like in my
Yeah.
choices? What are my responses? How do I talk to people? How do I give of my abundance? How do I create an abundance? So having those real conversations is what I like to do. Helping people move from point A to point B. I'm so excited to get a new client in the area of writing a book. This is a great example. She's a one, we laughed about this. She's a wannabe author. And we talked about that. I said, oh, stop calling yourself wannabe. I am an author. I'm an
Yes.
author about to launch my first book. So now let's say, how do we deal with that? What are the steps?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the conversation. Here I am. This is where I want to be. Okay, great. What are the steps? And guess what? Coach Kim is going to keep you accountable because remember, I am a former captain, so I'm very disciplined.
Yes.
And I like to give measurable tasks so we can say, did you do it? Yeah. See how small this box is? It's only big enough for a check or an X. No room for excuses. It's just that's
Yes. Oh,
so
I love that.
I would love to invite people to get a little pamphlet that I wrote called Everybody Needs a Coach, just a free gift. Because again, going back to isolationism, I don't want people to think that they're by themselves, right? So a coach, yes, I'm very this, but I'm also like this huge cheerleader. I'm like your celebration partner, right? So that's what I want because when people even do something little or big, to notice, that encourages them to do it again and again and again. So that's I'm that person, the pom pom, the disciplinarian, the celebration person, and because I think all moves forward are worthy of celebration.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
how can I can give you a text number that people can text me, or how can
What's
I,
the number? I can put it up on the screen.
it's 443-415-0033. 443-415-0033.
Okay, I didn't get any of it. Go ahead.
443
Okay.
415-0033.
Text. What do they need to say in the text?
They just need to text the words Sabrina Victoria.
Love it.
If they do that, then I will send them a free guide on the importance. So you can be like Tiger Woods. So you can be like Beyonce. Like, right? Like these people have coaches. They are not playing. They are serious. They want results. So if you're somebody who wants results, send me a text and I will send you some things you'll be like, you'll read. I'm telling you, you're gonna read and be like, yeah, 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 yeah. It'll be so clear to you. And I want you to win. And I don't want anybody to be in this same place on what March 15th, 2023.
Yeah.
Like, what's that about?
Yeah.
Like, let's move forward. So, thank you for allowing me to share those things, Sabrina. I appreciate it.
Of course. Of course. What does success mean to you?
Success means understanding your purpose. One word that I've newly associated with that is enlightenment. Like you get it, you know why you're here. Because when you know all the stuff that comes up against you, you literally can say, wait a minute, is this pushing me towards my goal or is it trying to pull me away from it? And you'll have that discernment to know and to realize and the courage to say, yeah, I'm not can't do that right now. Because I'm going this way. You're trying to derail me. That's success when you know what your track is and
Yeah.
you are on it unapologetically and you're like, hey, anyone else on it, because just because I'm on it doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I'm being perfected in the track. So yeah, that's the journey.
It's great. Most of the audience here at her version is here because they're looking for answers. They're struggling. They're possibly in some darkness right now, or maybe they're not, but they're just looking for a better way.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some advice that you'd give to the females out there who are looking to find or work towards their authentic self? What should they be doing? What should they be focusing on?
One thing I would say, which I think is key, because the first steps are always key. If you do the first things, the other
Yeah.
things will follow. So there's this picture of, I think it was in Peru, where these miners were buried miles underground because of a quake. and they were just buried. They couldn't be rescued, and no one knew. It's like 33 miners, and they spent weeks to find, and they finally got them out, and it was like this big thing nationally. It was an amazing story. Even made a movie out of it. It might have been rated R. I don't know if you saw it, Sabrina. I'm just kidding.
Ba-boom ching.
But it's an excellent movie. But I tell people this: there is a greatness buried inside of you, and when you get the revelation to say, you know what, I'm going in. When you do that, I promise you, you're going to see some ugly things. You're going to see some scary things on the descent, but you have to just keep moving the dirt, and you have to keep going lower and lower and lower on the rope until you get to it, and then bring it back up to the light. And what's going to push you is the faith that, yes, I'm like, how in the world could you just be here for nothingness? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
There is a set time. I look at myself, I'm thinking, had I been born 200 years ago, guess what? I wouldn't have any of this. I wouldn't have access. I wouldn't have a voice. I wouldn't have freedom.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, for you, young lady, all these ladies on here,
Yeah.
for you to be born at this time,
Yeah.
right now, in this window of time, there's a reason. There is a reason. So I want you to trust that reason, and put on your get your treasure map out, put on your exploration cap, get your map rolled up over your back, and let's go. Let's go get you. Let's go rescue you because you're worth it. And the big thing, once you find you, you're going to find, this is the paradox. Once you find you, you're going to think, oh, now I can be me. And no, this is great. No, you're finding you so you can go and be a blessing to other people. Like, it's not even about you. You is to help other people, to lift other people up. And that is actually going to feed you. Yeah. It's an incredible formula.
Yeah.
So let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Let's go.
I love it. And I love the reminder of, what we were talking about previously with all of the things that we're going through. There are struggles, and those struggles are teaching us things. And then going to what you just said right now, taking those struggles, learning from them so that we can go teach others.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And this comment, with an open and loving heart. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Forgiving is freeing. Unforgiveness is just like a weight. It's like when you get up in the morning, you're putting on your clothes. You're literally putting on, let me get my sack, my burden of unforgiveness. Can't go without this. And you got to sag. It's like, why am I'm so tense in my shoulder? Yeah, because you're carrying all that weight around. Yeah. We want you to be free and to be at a better, higher level. Because when it comes down to it, Sabrina, you just can't change the past. The thing happened. It happened. It could be horrible, all that it happened, but it happened. So all you can change is how you are going to identify with that event. And I tell people all the time, let's say if your life is a 20-chapter book, why are you mulling around in chapter 2? Like,
yes.
There's so much more to grasp and see and revel in. Chapter 2, that was a bad chapter. Don't go backwards, move forwards.
Yes. That's actually true. Yeah, you would never just keep rereading the same chapter over and over and over again. You would go to number 3 and then 4 and then 100%. I'm following you. That's great. Well, this has been absolutely phenomenal. I so appreciate you, visiting us today and taking some time out of your busy schedule to hang out and share some of your journey and, some of your thoughts on life and, some of your advice, some of your nuggets of information. Is there anything that you would like to add before we close up here?
I just want and I don't like blanket statements, but I'm going to say this.
Okay.
Because some people may never hear this, or they may not hear it just today, but I want to say that from my perspective, I believe in you. I believe that there's a calling on your life. I believe that you can do some great and terrific things. I believe that there are people who you may have not even met yet who are waiting for you to show up as a hero in their life.
Yeah.
And so, even if you don't do it for yourself, I know that there's a feeding that you can get, a warmth in your spirit that you will get when you do it for others. And that's priceless,
Yeah.
absolutely priceless. So I just want to encourage each and every one of you who are, seeing it now, seeing it in the future, that there are some great things that are waiting to be touched by you, by your hands and your heart and your feet and your smile and your embrace. And you can do it. You can do it. So thank you so much for giving me this platform. I'm super excited for you, Sabrina. And this is, you're just doing an amazing thing. I mean, people just need to, just the kindness, your smile, your energy.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for making this platform available.
Of course, of course. And it's women like you who are coming on sharing their story that's making it possible. So the one thing that I love to encourage is if you are watching now live, make sure you're sharing, make sure you are liking, commenting, have people that females join our Facebook group at Her Version. And it's all about just learning from each other. It's all about storytelling and realizing that we all have a story. We all have something to share and something to give. And just like Kim said, we're going through stuff right now in order to teach us something. And then once we get to a certain point, that one something or several somethings is meant to be able to teach other people. So our platform is always here for you. If you're watching live, I so appreciate you being here. If you're watching on the replay and you've made it this far, thank you so much. Make sure you hashtag replay so that we know that you were here and
Mhm.
we can say hello and give our shoot you a little heart or something. So thank you so much for joining us here at Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. If you like content like this, make sure you like and share. If you have a story to share, make sure you reach out to me. And I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Much love.